Hey there, and welcome everybody. I'm Jason Lynette. This is the Business Influence and Persuasion community, specifically for coaches and consultants. Today, we're going to be talking all about the idea of momentum, and I'll be getting around to exactly what that means. Because in this group, we go live on a weekly basis to talk about how to better attract your ideal clients. And it's not just about attracting those ideal clients. What it really comes around to is that ability to really put value out there in terms of what we do. And by putting that better value out there in terms of what we do, what happens is we're able to achieve even greater value back. So I'll let you know ahead of time if the goal is to maybe bump up your rates $10, $20 at a time. This might not be the community for you. Instead, this is the one where we're really looking at providing this maximum value to people in such a way that we can communicate in such a powerful way that people want more from us, even before you make an offer. And let me kind of make fun of myself for a second. My camera's a little higher up than it ought to be, and I'm only 5'4". Oh, that's much better. Hey, if you can hear me all right, do me a favor. Just drop the word okay in the comments down below. We just rebalanced out some microphones. Just give me some feedback that the sound is good. We're not distorting out. Just drop the word okay in the comments down below, and then we will officially jump into all of this. Got a heart emoji. We'll take it. I guess that counts as an official okay here. There we go. There they are. Fantastic. There's a funny link up above, by the way, at least in terms of you're watching me live right now. This software, I'll show you what this does. This is kind of fun. Look at that. Facebook user. You have to give it permission for me to actually involve with you. I can see it, but it won't show it here on the screen, though. You're good, bro, too, as well. Thank you. And I'll tell you where a lot of this is coming from. In this community, there's three things I'm going to be doing on a regular basis. First of all, I'll be popping in and teaching you, giving you actual stuff that you can implement right away. So my goal is to provide to you a profound level of value that you can put into action and you can see results inside of your own business, serving your clients as a consultant, as a coach, whatever your specific business may be. Second of all, as you see, sometimes I pop up in this group and I ask questions. And the reason for that is that business is constantly evolving. The world is rapidly changing. Apparently, things are different now than they used to be, you know? So the opportunity to get feedback from all of you, this way I can best serve you from my experience as well as the people I can bring into this community as well to highlight them and amplify your knowledge in terms of how you can serve your own clients. Third of all, yes, I will talk about the programs, the groups, even the private mastermind that I'm running, so that way you can see ways to take this knowledge and bring it even further. Let's talk about where all of this is really coming from. I consistently see people in their businesses chasing the wrong solution. And it's not that there's solutions out there that are good or bad. No, everything works. I operate from the mindset. Today, we've been playing with some different technologies and stuff we can use to streamline some running of the business. And in terms of software, I operate from the mindset that all this stuff works. You just have to figure out the best way to use it. So sometimes I get a call from someone, sometimes I'm on a phone call with someone, and we get into this conversation and we've been talking about what's been holding them back. We start to talk about some of the concerns they have, some of the fears, some of the stories they've been telling themselves. And then out of nowhere, they suddenly go, you know what? I think I just need some Google ads. Do you know someone who does Google ads? And meanwhile, there's no building of value in their marketing. There's no putting out of a message. They're not building rapport with people in advance. So as much as this is a community for business influence and yes, persuasion, no, we're not going to trick people here. No, we're not going to fool people. Instead, the reality is all communication is influential. All communication is persuasive, even if it's a matter of what we cooked for dinner last night, we made too much of. And as I said to my wife, hey, I'm going to make this frozen thing in the garage for lunch. And then let's do that meatloaf for dinner. Zucchini, secret ingredient, by the way. It's amazing. And that was communication, that was persuasion, that was influence, even though it may not be profound. So if we're always going to be influencing and persuading, what I tend to say is let's make sure we're doing it effectively. And it all does begin from the ground up. Phase one, if you can't even influence yourself yet, how well is that going to go with other people? From there, now we move into the category of calibration, how we create magnetic rapport with other people around us, how we can communicate in such a way that now we're creating a bond with people. And this is where we want to be. And the ethics to this is we keep going as we see we can serve that person, and we pull back, we exit when we see it's not a fit for that person. So the reality now becomes we can communicate with ourselves, we can communicate with others in such a way that they want more from us, even before we make an offer. You see, the reality is people lean in for education and they lean back from offers. And in our world, we all see ads on websites, on the stream on Facebook, and everywhere. And we've often become immune to that. So this is why it's so important to empower your marketing, your message, your promotion, your everything that you do with the right strategies at the right time, so your ideal audience wants more from you, even before you make an offer. And as much as, yes, I'm the guy who hosts a podcast called Hypnotic Language Hacks, we have to begin with this emotional intelligence and calibration to others, so that then finally, when we now get into the words, the patterns, and even better, the fourth phase, how to apply this, when to use a cause and effect, when to create new meanings simply with your language in someone's mind, now everything is congruent. And now people see the value. So you hear there's a foundation to this. You hear there's a sequencing to this. I'm curious to ask all of you watching with me here live right now, have you found that moment where you're chasing the wrong solution? Where you've been procrastinating? You've been doubting yourself? You have every opportunity there in front of you. I had this in one of my students the other day. He goes, I had someone who was emailing me, and they were ready to sign on to a full year of service. He's in the financial sector. They were ready to sign on for a full year of service, and yet for some reason I waited 3 days to make that phone call. And we can recognize these moments, but we often then start to trick ourselves. We start to fool ourselves, and again, we're chasing the wrong solution. I just need some Facebook ads. I need to hire an ads manager. Do you know a good designer? And there's some work that we need to do ourselves before we start to make any of that stuff work. This is a constant dialogue that I often get into, and why people often listen to me and reach out, and we end up having a conversation and moving forward with things. Because again, we recognize that strategy alone is not often going to be that solution. So Patty's already raising the hand. Yep. Yeah. Who else? Is this something? Just say yes in the comments down below. Let me know if this is resonating with you. That way I can see exactly what strategies, because this isn't going to be me over here right now talking about the problem, twisting the knife, and then saying, good night, everybody. No, I'm going to actually give you some of the principles that I personally use and the ones that I've taught to people in our mastermind community, and they've put into use as well. When you catch yourself in that shiny object syndrome, it's not a matter at times of, no, this camera versus that camera, this camera rather than this one. Yeah, absolutely got so much information and just can't get to the plan. We have no shortage of methods. We have no shortage of strategies. The tool that I was playing with today, it's a way of going back and forth between emails and text messaging. And you'll love this. I have software that already does that. I have software that would already do that. But the reality is, it wasn't doing the one thing that I needed. And I had to call myself out to go, okay, I'm trying to make this thing work when really I just need to switch to another platform. Yeah, letting the pretty shiny things take precedence over just putting out there and then beginning to tweak. Thank you for being transparent and sharing that there, Patty. So recognize, we catch these moments where let's bring us back to the theme of this community: business, influence, and persuasion. What we really need to do sometimes is take that step back. And we're all of a sudden on, a sales call with a potential client who's gone through our systems and end up in front of us. And they're going, I need a set of objection crushers. I need to make my website better. And really, it's us. We're not showing up with authority. We're not showing up with congruence. We're not yet showing up believing our own words. And rather than all sorts of fancy names, it comes down to fear. And let me simplify all that we do. Why is this hypnotic influence applied to business? Let me give you the most up-to-date neuroscience that makes all this work. Here's the frequency of all the stuff you're doing right now that's not working for you. Phase 1, got to interrupt that stuff. I said stuff. I'm being more polite now on Facebook Lives. Once we've interrupted it, now there's an opening in the mind for us to write the new pattern. And the more we run that new pattern, the better it becomes. A friend of mine likes to say that once may just be an occurrence, 2 times may just be a coincidence, 3 times, and we're well on our way to establishing a new set of behaviors. But again, it's not just about strategies. I'm seeing a really great comment here about knowing the big picture, but just swinging in the dark. And again, the place where we catch ourselves going, should I do this? Should I do this? Should I do that? So my goal today is to actually give you some strategies you can put into use right away to talk about some of these principles that we go deeper inside of the program, the mastermind that I run all around hypnotic influence, specifically for business. But recognize, step 1, we've just got to create a change. We don't have to have the entire solution immediately at the beginning. And I'll tell a story here. And yes, I've been doing everything online since March of 2020. So enjoy the view as I walk over. Hang on. Haven't worn real pants most of the year, right? They are pants at least. Book that I put out January of 2019, Work Smart Business. There's a principle I'll share with you that we go deeper inside of called physiological states of influence, which is a big, big term to describe an extremely simple concept. Change the physicality. Change the physical environment. And by doing so, it snaps the mind out of that problematic state. So the way that I wrote my book, I didn't write it. I spoke it. I spent some time mind mapping and drawing out all the different chapters, playing the game of, hey, these 2 are basically the same. That's now 1 chapter. Wow, this one, just doesn't belong anymore. Wow, that one's really good. Let's take that out. That's the second book. And here was this mind map. I then outlined the entire thing, and then I recorded it on my phone, paid some highly skilled technicians, nerds, to transcribe the entire thing, and then I spent the next 6 months editing it. That was my map of doing that. So in that editing process, physiological states of influence, there's a reason why, I had to show you this earlier, there's a reason why we went fancy with the desk that goes up and down, upliftdesk.com. Highly recommend it. They don't do affiliates. I just love the hell out of them. When I hit that point of frustration, when I hit that point of challenge, changing the environment, I picked up my laptop, I moved to another room, I changed the lighting, I made things different. I interrupted that pattern. And by doing so, I was now in a mode where I can actually then snap out of that previous state. I'll say this in full respect. This is a concept that many people have done their own variations of and have done some interesting study around it, whether it's Amy Cuddy and the power poses, whether it's back to Virginia Satir and the use of physicality and such. Adopt that posture of confidence, adopt that posture of doing something differently. And when you know how to really pulsate this, when you know how to really activate that and take it out of the physical body, but also into the mind, that's where suddenly now we can start to charge up that confidence and pick up that momentum. Hey, that's our theme today. Pick up that momentum once again. So this is one of those things that, again, back to the story of the guy in the financial sector doing financial advising process. he had a really interesting problem. It was a good problem to have. He was employed as basically a financial advisor for a company. And the majority of his income came from going out and networking. And those would become what we call warm leads. And then, because he was an employee of this company, they would give him a list of people who had filled out forms on the website, and he had to then call. Those were called cold leads. I'm a little different sometimes because I do believe in the medical model. I will believe that as much as there's certain things that some people say are overdiagnosed, I would also argue that perhaps they're also underdiagnosed, and that can be often just as dangerous, if not more. Now that I've said that, sometimes there's this language of, you have call reluctance. Oh, you just have call reluctance. Well, what is that? Call reluctance is this psychological block where suddenly you have all these phone calls to make and you're tricking yourself into other productivity, there's the air quotes, to not do it. The moment you do that stuff, I'm being nicer now on Facebook Live. The moment you do that stuff, you're putting yourself into a community of other people. And now, look, we all have call reluctance. We all have this problem. We're in a community. Let me get a badge and say I also have call reluctance. No, cold calling sucks. And that's the end of it. Unless you employ the right hypnotic influence strategies to your mindset to change the tone of that, to then follow through. And the same thing applies. I've had people who have reached out to me and joined our mastermind where here's the experience where someone's ready to sign up and they're not reaching out. So shift that physicality. Do something different. Get the body moving in a different way. And by doing so, it brings the mind to a different pattern. This is where we often have to talk about video games. Turn it into a game, track your success, have fun with it. That's what he ended up doing with the call reluctance, and actually surprised himself. There was a week where he actually, Jim, got a comment here. Jim got sidetracked by a sandwich. Happens to the best of us with age, my friend. There you go. So there you go. Physiological states of influence. Let me spend some more time here and give you some more on this. And again, we go even deeper into how it is. There's a reason why. I got a text message from someone late last night. Friends of mine were in town in Orlando, and I let them borrow my sound system. And suddenly here came a message. And the conversation then was, yeah, but Jason, your videos look so seamless. I see you do these long takes and you keep the attention going the entire way through. And the reality is you're seeing, yes, the final take of the video. We're going out live right now. But what you didn't see is what I was doing for the 2 to 3 minutes before I hit the button and went in front of all of you. So the ways we can charge up that confidence. What would be different in the shape of your business, whether it's video, whether it's even writing, whether it's returning that call to that client who wants to hire you? What would be different if you could show up at 100% each and every time? This is not pipe dream. This is something we can condition ourselves to do. Let's not fall into the game of putting ourselves in a community of, no, that's just call reluctance. People go through that in business. And instead, I just got 3 stars here. Let's show that off. Hell yeah. Sorry. Heck yeah. I'm being nicer on Facebook Live. The opportunity where now, what is it we can do where we show up with authority? A friend of mine said something where he goes, I have my students watch this video because I don't want them interacting with me on the day that, how do I know it's not going to be a day that I don't suck? How do I know it's not going to be a day where I'm not feeling 100%? And I'd say rather than go to that, instead, let's make use of our own influential principles to step into our own greatness and have that authority, have that confidence, create that magnetic style of delivery so that, again, people want more from us even before we make the offer. Think about the changes that would create in your business so that now, as you have more effective strategies, as you have the right language patterns at the right time, it's all congruent. because everybody right now, I want you to think of the most excited you have ever been in your entire life. I want you to feel so wonderfully excited right now that you, yeah, right. Put energy to it. And again, this is something that we do to ourselves in this experience. I'll share one more. I'm looking over here at the comments here. Yeah, Linda, I'll check that on the sound. Thanks for the heads up on that. Let's talk about one of my favorite concepts. And this is something that, again, people in the mastermind, we talk about this ability to step into our own authority, to step into our own messaging, a simple concept that I refer to as organic anchoring. We have a bit of a split audience in this community. I've got people who are coaches and consultants in one-to-one communities, people who are more of a counseling, therapeutic respect, and people who deal with more technical stuff. We've got a couple of credit repair people, a number of health coaches in here as well. This is going to apply no matter what. Let me step aside for a moment and explain a concept which we go much deeper to inside of the programs that I offer, that of anchoring. Anchoring is the ability to connect a sensory experience to another sensory experience. You've done this on your own nearly every day of your life up until now, and you'll continue to do it for as long as you live. Song plays on the radio, and it reminds you of everything you were going through when that song first was played. Suddenly you walk into a room and you smell something, and it brings back the sensory memory as to times where you've smelled that thing before. I made it a point to tell a slightly obscure story about Meatloaf, the food, not the singer. And suddenly then, if you were here for that moment, some of you had sensory-specific memories around Meatloaf. In the words of my wife, I'll have anything for dinner tonight, but I won't do that. 3 of you just got that joke. So this is what anchoring is. So think about this. When you learn how to employ anchoring concepts, where traditionally, as a hypnotist, to work with a client one-to-one, what we would often do is bring up a powerful state of mind and connect it to a physical action that they can do, whether it's a shift in posture, whether it's a clap of the hands, whether it's a squeeze of the hands, whether it's a word, whatever it is that we choose. And guessing sucks, so I tend to ask them, hey, here's something we can do. What would be the most effective for you? And I work a lot with people who do speaking. You know, many of the people in our community are joining because, again, they've realized online video is a big part of really scaling up your business. People do business with people, and it's not just about telling you, put yourself out there. It's about employing the right psychological principles back into ourselves, but also inside of our verbal communication. So again, I keep drilling this because this is where we want to be so that people want more from us even before we make that offer. Again, people lean in for sales. They lean back from sales. They lean in for education. So to embed our sales process inside of our educational process and create an emotional bond with people. Organic anchoring. If you're somewhere that you can do this, follow along with me. If you're perhaps driving and listening to me, please keep your eyes on the road. Put the FaceTime down and keep yourself safe. The last thing I need is someone getting into an accident with my video streaming in the background. I'd encourage you, take a moment right now and think about a specific thing that you can do with repetition, without variation. So it's not going to be squeeze your hand into a fist, followed by squeeze your hand into a fist, which if you looked, I did it differently both times. Oh, it's the details. Instead, what's something specific? There's a specific way that before I hit the live button, it's a clap of the hands and the hands go out. There's a TED Talk, I'll find the reference later, in terms of the power of open body posture. That again, we're welcoming people in versus, so glad to have all of you here. Which, by the way, back to physiological states of influence, body language is meaningless until it's calibrated. Like 10 years ago, I had a woman come into my office. She sits down, she's wearing her jacket, she has her purse in her lap, and she crosses her arms over the purse. And every book you could ever find on body language would tell you, this is the international sign for I don't trust you. I am closed off to you. And before I could say anything, she says, I need you to understand I need you to understand I'm very excited to be here. But I'm wearing a white sweater and I made the mistake of having spaghetti for lunch. To which instant rapport, I was wearing a tie that day. I'm like, oh, cool, you see that? Barbecue sauce. And she goes, oh, I just got to get rid of this fear of public. She just relaxes. So what is something you can do consistently with repetition and now we can attach meaning to? And I'll tell you in advance, we're going to plant the seed for this here today. We're going to just plant the seed for this because it's not just about changing your actions when you want to become more confident, when you want to have more of this momentum, which is the theme here today. It's about embracing when things are good and, like a computer, click and drag, copy and paste that into the parts of life where you want to have that efficacy, where you want to be even more effective at what you're doing. So think of this like a battery, where the battery only works where we've actually charged it up. So when you get off the call with someone and they've now joined your program and they've joined at a higher ticket rate, when you start to make use of some of the strategies that I share with you here, when you start to do that and now the call goes off, they've booked, they're confirmed, they've paid in full, there's that gesture. And I do that. Anyone who's ever done a Facebook Live before, you hit the button and here's my impression of most Facebook Lives. Click. Hey, this is... There's that deer in the headlights moment of, there's the red light. Even using third-party software like I use to do this. Still, there's that window, and as soon as I hit click, and I'm there. So start to charge yourself up. Start to amp up that ability within so that now, as we're communicating, again, from emotional intelligence up into calibration, up into then the specific words and language patterns, and now putting this all into motion. It all comes now from a place of congruence. We're saying things. I was at an event this past week, and someone asked the question of, why should I do business with you? And his response was, because I'm the best at what I do. Did that convey confidence? Because I'm really good at what I do, and the people who I've worked with see some incredible results. Provided that's true. It is here. So the opportunity to then charge up that action. Make a commitment right now to pick something organic that you can do. I've said I'll be more polite, but this is a quote. Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. Fabulous TV show. If you're not a subscriber to Amazon Prime for TV, it is worth it just for this. Tells the fictional story of first successful female comedian, and it kind of blends some other stories together. And her business partner, whenever she's about to go on stage, yells out one specific phrase. I'm going to see if someone can remember it first. If you've watched that TV show and you know the anchor that they command in that moment, you're about to walk out on stage and suddenly her business partner yells out a specific phrase, which is what gets her into that speaking mode, gets her into that comedy zone. If any of you who are watching me live know it, drop it into the chat. I'm sure curious to see. Just to say, oh, there it is. I know Patty wouldn't let me down. Patty's a member of our community as well. That's why she knows this. Yes, Midge. Tits up. Welcome, everyone. Oh, wow. Wait, we got to do this. And another one. And another one. And look at that. That is anchoring, organic anchoring at its best. As I work with so many, and I fell off my tongue. I'm assuming that's in response to that, but we'll keep things going here. Yeah, that opportunity. As I work with my public speakers, this is something I teach, that as soon as the camera's going out, if this is too overt for you, you can make use of something covert, as it were. That slight shift in the body posture, which now, is this all that we do around here? No, of course not. But this is the beginning of that foundation. This is how we get that momentum in place so that now, as we're now scripting our message, as we're seeing, this is where we apply the language pattern of the mind read. As now we're seeing, this is how we win the first 30 seconds of a video that we're putting out there so people actually watch it. I'll call it out. There's an audience of people watching and interacting right now, and I owe it to all of you to use the methods that I teach as I'm teaching it to you. Otherwise, you wouldn't be listening, you wouldn't still be here, and you wouldn't be benefiting it. So the reality is, we owe it to our clients to communicate in better ways. We owe it to our clients and the results that we know we can produce with them to employ ethical persuasion, positive influence inside of what we do. And if what I've been sharing with you has been resonating with you, and if this is something that you need some help with, let me know. I'd love to chat. Just drop the word help in the comments down below. Either myself or someone on my team will reach out to you, and we'll figure out a time to actually get on a call and talk about exactly what that looks like, to really empower the secrets of hypnotic influence into your business, from how we carry ourselves, how we communicate with others, when, where, and why to use the patterns of ethical influence, and even better, as we like to say, guessing sucks, to take the guesswork out of what we do and make it so now you've got a write for your website. Here are the formulas, and here's when, where, and why to plug in the patterns of ethical influence. You're about to go on camera to put the right language patterns in the right places at the right times so people see the value, and not just see the value. The measurement of a good presentation is not just, are they applauding, are they standing up, are they saying you were really swell? It's instead, do they go further with you? Do they move further in that communication? And in business, that means one and only one thing. They're making that decision to do business with you. If you've consistently had that moment where you're on a call, you're in a conversation with someone, and you know for a fact what you do can really, really help them, and you're not yet connecting the dots as to what has to be said, what has to be communicated, what even, as we've talked about here, emotional tone needs to be there for them to move further with you. I'd love to chat with you about exactly what that looks like. Drop the word help in the comments down below, whether you're watching with me, those of you here with me live right now, or even if you're watching the replay, or even if you find this video 3 months from now and go, hey, tits up. No, hey, meatloaf. Hey, oh, I gotta show this. But you are really swell. Hey, you are too, even though it's just showing me Facebook user right now. If this is something you need in terms of empowering your message, building value in the marketplace, and not just being a commodity, when we do this the right way, you are now bonding their solution to you. And again, ethics to everything. We're only ever doing this when we see for a fact we can help that person. So if this is something that you need some assistance doing inside of your business, and even better, having a community that speaks the same hypnotic influence for business language, it can help you to elevate your skills and sharpen your results, drop the word help down in the comments down below, and either myself or someone on my team, we will reach out to you. I want to thank all of you for joining me here today. These are techniques that are powerfully effective. These are methods that produce some incredible results, but they only have the results when you actually put them into use. So let me give you 2 simple calls to action here. 1, find the ways to start to put this into use. Even if it feels like you're kind of just guessing for right now, even if it feels like you're just kind of dipping your toes into some of these strategies, the effort to actually put something in motion, remember what I said before, is actually changing that neurological conversation inside, and the action of reaching out and doing something different is a step in a new direction. More of the same or scale up. That's one of the chapters inside of here. I jokingly hold it up. I will openly tell you, if you go to Amazon and buy Work Smart Business, I think I get a whopping $1.12. That's why we're having leftover meatloaf for dinner tonight. It's actually really good. It's always better the next day, by the way. This is what you come for. So first of all, 1 call to action. Please don't let this just be more information. There's no shortage of strategy. There's no shortage of solutions out there. What there is a shortage of is momentum. Take something I've shared, put it into use, come back to this video tomorrow, and let us know what you've done. Let's keep this conversation going. And second of all, if this is something you need some help with, drop the word help in the comments down below, and we'll talk about exactly what that looks like and how to move forward. I want to thank all of you for jumping in, and Patty's saying, start. I'm so glad I'm not on the sidelines just trying to figure it out alone. Yeah. Community, support putting it all together. Thanks everybody for joining me. And as we often say here, change your words, change your business, change your life. See you all next time.